The 2024 wide receiver class was absolutely loaded, with guys like Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, and Ryan Williams. Nestled right in the mix with those players, though, was a 5-star receiver by the name of Micah Hudson. He was the #1 recruit to ever go to Texas Tech in school history, had pretty much endless potential, but all of a sudden, after just nearly a year in college football, some are already labeling him as a huge bust. He barely did anything his first year at Texas Tech, and then has now had a very confusing transfer saga. He decided to leave Texas Tech for Texas A&M, apparently didn't show up to practice, had a whole saga with that, and is once again entering the portal with rumors about him going back to his previous school. While there are currently a lot of negative headlines about Micah Hudson, I want to do a deep dive into who this guy is. Is he really a 5-star receiver who's on the fast track to becoming a bust, or is there more that meets the eye here? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about how Micah Hudson became a 5-star recruit, his crazy recruitment coming out of high school, his first year at Texas Tech, and the whole portal saga. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Micah Hudson. Okay, so before we get going, I want to give a quick shout out to Zay with the K's for suggesting today's video. If you want to see a future video topic on the channel, be sure to let me know a topic or player down below, and you might get featured. Okay, so in order to go back in time, we first need to talk about his father, Desmond Royal. He was actually one of the best defensive linemen in Texas Tech football history, as he played with the Red Raiders from 1985 to 1988. Like father, like son, Micah became a big deal, as Royal had been able to pass his knowledge and experience on to his son. He passed on to Micah the ability to work hard and be disciplined, and he also had the knowledge about how to get to that next level. Growing up in the state of Texas, football was absolutely king there, and the athletic phenom eventually arrived at Lake Belton High School, which is in Texas, and he became a key player there. Hudson was a tri-sport athlete, as not only was he outstanding on the football field, but he's also a varsity soccer and basketball player. We love those multi-sport players, as a lot of the times they are super athletes, which are super fun to watch on the field. Eventually, between his sophomore and junior year, Hudson became a 5-star recruit, and was one of the top players in the class of 2024, with On3 even having him as a top 10 overall player. This can get to some players' heads. The glitz and glamour of being a high-profile recruit did not impact Hudson's daily life, though. He said he was enjoying the process, but he also focused on other aspects of his life. He said, quote, "It surprised me a bit, but at the same time, I haven't been worried about it." Hudson said that after being asked about all the early offers he got. At the end of the day, he said he was focused on his schoolwork and being the best person he could be, and would not want to get caught up in the rankings. So yeah, being a highly touted recruit has its distractions for sure, and Hudson said he learned a workaround. He had 2 cell phones, one for Instagram and brand endorsements, and another for all other communications. As a junior, Hudson became one of the top players in the state and the country, as he caught 65 passes for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. From there, it became a very busy summer for Hudson, as he would take visits to Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU, Texas Tech, Texas, and TCU. Of those schools, 2 of them had stood out, and that was A&M and Texas Tech. He said, quote, "A&M and Tech have been standing out. They want me to go there a lot. It means a lot coming from them, and they want me to play early and get the hang of this thing." At Texas A&M, there was a lot of intrigue because they were a very historic program, and he also loved Evan Stewart, and Hudson wanted to be just like him, and he felt he could do the same thing if he went to A&M, he said. Micah Hudson eventually held 35 total offers and visited Texas Tech 8 times before becoming the highest rated recruit to ever sign with them. Ultimately, the familiarity with the coaching staff played a large part in his decision, and Tech fans were super stoked about this. One of the main keys of his recruitment was actually the sold-out Jones Stadium when Oregon took on Texas Tech. There was more than 56,000 people there that night, and while they ended up losing to Oregon in a very highly anticipated non-conference game, he said he felt the loss deeply. He said that was also the moment he knew he wanted to be a Red Raider. He said, quote, "Coming to the Oregon game and just seeing them boys, I felt like we were really about to beat them and things like that. But it felt like I had to commit after that day and just uplift the city and the coaches." As I said, he chose Texas Tech over Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Texas, and Texas A&M, amongst others. Head coach Joe McGuire knew how big of a deal this guy was, as he said, quote, "He's one of those guys I'll be shocked if he's not an instant contributor. I don't think you'll ever hear me say we're going to redshirt Micah Hudson." So yeah, for a while though, there was some drama here, as many thought that Hudson would end up flipping to Texas, or that Texas Tech would not be able to hold on to him. This had been consuming Tech fans since before he ever stepped foot on campus, and throughout the 2024 cycle, Red Raiders were following him and their pursuit of him. Again, many were worried that he could end up flipping, and this was the type of player that Texas Tech rarely landed. This was a huge get for head coach Joey McGuire, as he had quickly changed the program's image in recruiting circles. Ultimately, I could not find a ton of information about his upbringing, so more of this is about his recruitment than I usually like to talk about, but he helped Texas Tech have a top 30 recruiting class, and he's a guy who could score the ball, was fast, shifty, and versatile. He also became a deep threat, was a catch-and-run dynamo, and also was great as both a backfield player and someone who could throw in the slot. On top of that, he was also a return specialist, and in total, he had more than 5,000 all-purpose yards and nearly 60 touchdowns between rushing and receiving during his 4 years in the Texas high school football system. According to 24/7 Sports, Micah Hudson was a 5-star recruit, the number 5 wide receiver, and the 25th best player in the class of 2025. So how did he end up doing in Lubbock? Well, let's take a look. Well, in this NIL world, and with Hudson being Texas Tech's highest rated recruit ever, they did not want to squander that away. Many thought he would immediately start for them and would get the ball a ton, as you don't want to lose a guy like that. He also definitely had the talent as well, and he was seen as a day one impact player. But he'd come into Texas Tech with an asterisk. He missed most of that spring camp after undergoing surgery on his left knee, an injury he suffered in high school. So yeah, he ended up returning to full football activities in the fall, and I guess just didn't grasp the playbook or looked a little bit of a step slow, so he was never able to crack the starting lineup. However, at times he made a couple of good plays this past season, and many fans openly called for Micah to get more touches and to see more time on the field. But Texas Tech ended up having a good season after all, and were in the Big 12 title race near the end of it, so I guess they didn't necessarily need him to be successful, and McGuire knew what he was doing. This though led a lot of people to rumorize that he was going to leave, and that Micah's time in Texas Tech would be very short. To do a quick glance back at his time in 2024, he ended up catching his first career pass against Washington State, which went for 4 yards, and then had the best game of his season against North Texas, finishing with 3 catches for 43 yards in that one. He also caught 1 pass against Arizona State, and passes against both Arizona and Baylor before he was lost for the remainder of the season with an eventual injury, which was definitely tough. As I said, he caught 8 passes for 123 yards, and this was in large part to him being stuck in the rotation and that lower leg injury he suffered. After the season was over, Texas Tech fans' worst nightmare came to be true, as he ended up deciding to enter the transfer portal. He was no longer a member of Texas Tech, and many immediately thought that Hudson could pretty much go anywhere. He was listed as one of the top receivers in the 2025 transfer portal, and all those blue chip and blue blood programs that previously wanted him a year ago were going to line up to try to get him. Eventually, he actually pretty quickly settled on Texas A&M, and Aggies fans were super excited to get him on campus. They had lost Evan Stewart a couple of years ago, so now they were getting their transfer guy in return, who was as highly rated as Stewart was pretty much. Except A&M fans all of a sudden didn't get a chance to be that excited, as just a couple days into it, a lot of people thought that his heart was not in the transfer. Eventually, a couple days ago, Coach Mike Elko came out and said that he stepped away from day-to-day activities and now will re-enter the 2025 transfer portal. That window will then open between April 10th and April 25th of this season, and that's when the next chapter of this saga could come to an end. What's going to happen from there? I don't know. But if you ask the message board people and everyone on social media, they're going to tell you he's going right back to Texas Tech. There's a lot of rumors online that he's been spending time in Lubbock and has been seen on the Texas Tech campus for weeks now. However, those rumors have not been confirmed, but at the same time, what reason is there really for anybody to confirm them? I'm sure he has been there, and if he's going back to Texas Tech, I think this is a really interesting story. He could have just stayed there all along, and all of a sudden everybody's talking negatively about the guy in the headlines. Everyone talked about how Hudson was the bust of this year's 2024 receiver class, but when you look on paper, he was a step slow because of the injury he had in the spring, fell on the depth chart, and had an injury issue. I can't really blame him for not getting on the field much in 2024, and then the whole thing with the transfer portal, I don't necessarily know if I can blame the guy. Pretty much everybody is being forced into the portal nowadays, and if he felt like he needed to go, I guess I understand it. But if his heart was always in Lubbock, he just should have never left. Instead, many people are going to probably think this dude is a basket case, but ultimately, I do hope he ends back up at Texas Tech, balls out for the next 2 years, and ends up in the NFL, like we all thought he would. This has definitely been a race of emotions for Texas Tech fans, but at the end of the day, we'll just have to see what happens, and this guy is a unique talent who I'll be rooting for. What do you guys think? If you're a Texas A&M or a Texas Tech fan, what is going on with Micah Hudson? Where is he going to end up next? And what player should I do a feature on next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.